Welcome, racers. Welcome to Noy Racing Academy. Today, we'll be discussing one of my favorite tracks, Willow Springs Raceway, known as the fastest track in the West. It's for sure a bucket list track. One of the oldest and most historic racetracks in the U.S., Willow Springs has been featured in blockbuster movies such as Days of Thunder, Ford versus Ferrari, and many others. At 2.5 miles long with only 9 turns, the track appears simple to memorize when looking at a track map or aerial view, but don't be deceived. This track is not only one of the fastest racetracks in the country in terms of average speed, but offers an array of challenges that can only be unlocked with hundreds upon hundreds of laps. My goal with this tutorial is to demystify Willow Springs and reduce the intimidation factor for first-timers. But I won't stop with a basic turn-by-turn guide, as you can watch hundreds of videos on YouTube if that's what you're after. Instead, I want to peel back the layers of this beast, giving you more confidence, tips, and tricks to tame this track and achieve your personal best. So, what's so daunting about Willow Springs anyway? Well, for starters, it's blazing fast. You'll be going faster in turn 8 than you've likely gone in any corner before. And what a track map or even watching videos won't show you is that it has serious elevation changes, starting with a steep ascent up turn 3, followed by a speedy descent between 4 and 5, punctuated by a steep ascent up and over the blind corner 6. The surface is also quite abrasive, very rough. It has expansion joints worse than I've seen on most public roads, unless you've been to New Orleans. At slow speeds, the bumps can rattle your fillings if you have them. At high speeds, however, you tend to skip over the expansion joints when you're going 120 to 140 miles per hour. The track tends to be very hard on tires, especially the left front. Now, the track has lots of secret beneficial camber or banking. And if you find it and know where to look, this track can reward precise apexes while it also punishes those who miss their marks. I'll be getting into this in great detail in our turn-by-turn guide because this camber is extremely powerful and will help you unlock faster lap times. Last, this track gets real windy, very gusty. You can either get a big tailwind or you can get a headwind that smacks you in the middle of the face. It also can push your car laterally from one direction to the other. So pay close attention to the weather reports and make sure you're feeling the wind and what it's doing to your car because it can be quite unsettling. To get started, let's set some expectations for this video. I'll be showing you how to drive 2 different cars, both mine and my wife. We share all of our cars, we share pretty much everything. And she's also blazing fast. Her name is Dana. She also will be coaching in some of our future videos. First, I'll teach you how to drive a high-powered street car at Big Willow. It's a 2015 Porsche GT3 with added safety equipment and track-focused tires and alignment. It has a telepathic PDK transmission, 475 horsepower, and Hoosier R7 tires. Notably, modern Porsches like this one have electronic stability control and traction control, which both of those I disable. For beginners and intermediates, however, I strongly recommend leaving the driver aids turned on, especially traction control. Those aids can really make the difference between a fun weekend and a serious off-road excursion you don't want to embark upon. Now, since this car does hold the current track record in its class with Porsche Owners Club, I'd be remiss not to show you that lap and break it down. Next, I'll show you my strategy for qualifying for a race, but this time it'll be in a much slower car, a 1998 Spec Boxster making only 200 horsepower. And in my view, the Spec Boxster is one of the best cars with which to learn performance driving, as it has no driver's aids. It's mid-engine for great balance and rotation in corners. and has just enough power to get you in trouble if you make mistakes. It quickly teaches you that lifting abruptly in the middle of a corner is a no-no, and many a newbie Boxster driver learns a few hard lessons in the first weekend. Once you master the Boxster, you can pretty much hop into any car and be quick. If you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up. Let's talk a little bit about how to use this video. I think it's important for you to not only see and hear what it looks and sounds like to complete a lap at full speed, but to truly absorb all the nuances by looking at the track surface in slow motion. I have footage of me driving right behind a 997.2 Cup car, which has a melodious, loud sound, allowing you to hear when we get off the throttle to brake and when we start feeding in the throttle, sometimes before the apex. In the videos, I'll annotate advice, tips, and tricks progressively, starting with the basics and gradually moving on to more advanced nuances. So if you're a beginner, I suggest you watch the video all the way through, and likely several times, to absorb as much as you can. For intermediates and advanced drivers, perhaps skip ahead to the wheel-to-wheel racing footage in my spec Boxster, as it shows me driving right behind a friend who's going almost exactly the same pace as me, allowing you to see how he's driving the track from my vantage point. In the comments, feel free to start a dialogue with other racers. Feel free to critique my driving, like all racers. I'm a work in progress, and on every lap I've ever driven, I'm sure I've made some mistakes. There's really no such thing as the mythical perfect lap. It doesn't exist. One of the existential truths of driving and what makes this sport so complex, challenging, and rewarding is that you could always have done something just a little bit better to eke out a couple hundredths of a second. I hope you enjoy this video, the first in a series my wife and I will be producing. We hope to help as many people as we can, so please subscribe, like, and share the video with your driving buddies. Okay, so now I'm going to go through a qualifying session in the Boxster. I think I'm going to coach myself here and pick out all the subtle nuances that I could have done better so everyone can see that even with a relatively quick lap, I think it's a 132.3 something, which was on a Sunday following a race on Saturday and an enduro on Saturday. So these are tires that have been pretty well, scrubbed in for a little bit more than an hour of racing. So I know I'm going to have a little bit less traction than normal. It's relatively cool outside, so the engine's going to be performing really, really well, but I'm not going to have quite the same mechanical grip in the corners. So my strategy is I prepare for the first corner on my out lap, preparing for the hot lap. I'm going to take this apex really wide and do a super late apex because all I care about prioritizing is my top speed at the start finish line to start the timed lap. So I don't really care about hitting the apex at turn 9 on this lap because I want to maximize my actual speed. So I'm going to take it really wide, like on a NASCAR track, and try to maximize the top speed. Now, I don't quite do that. I'm a little slower than I would like to be. I like to kind of hit around 100 miles per hour as my minimum speed through turn 9. But again, these tires are a little bit used up, so I think that contributed. So let's see how we do it here. So brake lightly, off the brakes. Hold your hand steady, feet in the throttle, full throttle, full throttle, full throttle. Now, I almost went 2 wheels off the track there because I was pushing it a little too hard. Relax, get really focused. We're going to go down for turn 1, which is a threshold braking turn. Notice that the corner is very well banked. You can see the banking from here, from this vantage point. So where do you think I'm looking? I get a lot of questions about this. Where do you look when you're going to brake? I do not look at the cones. My eyes are not focused on that cone on the right. I am scanning back and forth with my eyes very quickly, left to right. My eyes right now are pretty much looking where that car is ahead of me, that gray car. And then I look at the apex, and then I look back to where the gray car is. Then I quickly scan back to where the cone is. And then I really get my eyes focused through the corner so that I can maximize hitting that apex and realize if I hit the apex correctly and I get to full throttle, the car is going to naturally push me out to the right side of the track on the exit. If I don't use the whole track on the exit of turn 1, that means I either didn't get to throttle soon enough or I didn't quite have my car oriented properly on the entry to turn 1. So the technique on this is brake really, really hard, threshold braking, get off the brakes as you start to very gradually turn in, get down in that banking on the far left down by the curb. And this corner can hold more speed than you think. But when you exit it, the track rolls off as you track out to the right and it starts to flatten. So you actually start to lose a little bit of traction on the exit of turn 1. So you have to be careful. And I have gone off at the exit of turn 1 3 different times. Once was a spin out in a race. I will tell you, it's not very pleasant to go off at the exit of turn 1. It's really bumpy and there are a lot of rocks out there. So try to avoid it. Hit the curb, good, full throttle, track all the way out to the right. I almost hit the white line. That's perfect. All the way to the left. On the entry to turn 2, what I've done here is I've turned the wheel slightly to the right, straightened my hands, and now I'm going to brake. You'll notice my speed here is 103. I'm going to brush the brakes, traveling in a straight line, diving down into this corner turn 2. Again, look at the banking. This is very, very helpful. If you get down into this banking, you can carry a lot of speed on the entry. Look at how fast we're going. Once you get into the corner, about a third of the way through, the track flattens out a bit. There's a little compression and you will start to get you'll lose a little bit of traction about a third of the way through. So you'll hear me slightly lift just to settle the car down a little bit. And then I get back to full throttle. This Boxster in fourth gear only goes about 90 miles per hour through turn two. No matter what you do, it's going to be 89, 90, maybe 91 in this car, no matter what the conditions are. So that's what I do. Turn in slightly, brush the brakes, get back to about 75% throttle. As soon as you feel that compression a third of the way through, you can get back to full throttle and hold full throttle all the way through turn two in a spec Boxster. I lifted a little bit there, compression, full throttle, 89, 90, all the way through, full throttle. Hands steady. Just try to get back all the way to the left on the exit. Use every inch of the track on the exit there. That was good. Get back over to the right. You notice I didn't get all the way to the right to prepare for turn three, and that's because this car is slow. In my GT3, I would have gotten all the way to the right to try to set up a nice, gentle turn in because I'd be carrying a lot more speed in the GT3. This track is extremely wide. And so in the Boxster, we're only going here like 77, 80 miles per hour. So I don't need to use quite all the track here because it's creating more distance. I'd rather shrink the distance of this corner because it's not going to really impact my turn-in speed. And then I can get into this corner more quickly, cut the distance, and shave a few tenths of a second. I also am attempting to get right along this curb on the left. It's, again, very well banked. It's more banked the further you get to the curb. So you want to get the car sucked in there, and it really does hold you like a train track. A lot of people take this corner and miss that apex by 5 feet, 6 feet. And the further out you get to the right, the less traction you have. So I would, advise you to get to the left. And another thing here, don't lift the throttle. If you go through this commit, even if you go in at 50% throttle, 60, 70, you want to be gradually increasing your throttle through this corner. If you lift, this is a corner where you can spin out. Lift, full throttle right there, all the way up the hill, full throttle. Slight brake here to rotate the car. I tap the brake as I turn the wheel. It makes the car flick around, rotate along the axis of the front tires. It's banked up here so you can turn in sharp. And this is the slowest point on the track. What I'm doing now is I'm looking through that corner to the right, aiming for that cone. And I want my wheels to basically run over the dirt if I can. Some cars can actually do that because their inside front wheel will lift off the ground. In the Boxster, I find if you can kind of scrub that white line, that's about optimal. And then you're going to get to full throttle and track all the way out to the left. Full throttle, down the hill, third gear, hold third gear. It's going to hit the rev limiter. Get along this curbing. Notice how the curb, by that, when you get close to the end of the curbing, it sort of straightens out. You want to really get your wheels right next to this curb and then straighten the wheel completely because you're going to be threshold braking here. You don't want to be turning the wheel. You want to get along this curb, go straight down the hill, brake hard early because you want to maximize how quick you get to throttle going into turn 5. As I go into turn 5, you're going to hear I'm getting to throttle very quickly, and I'm going to try to get along the curb on the left. Again, good banking on this corner. The further you can get to the left, the better your grip is going to be. And there's a compression there, which gives you even more traction. So really maximize your entry speed to turn 5 and how fast you can get to throttle and get all the way to the left. I missed it by 3 feet. That's bad. So normally what I'd want to do is I'm angled almost exactly where I'd like to be, but I didn't have as much traction as I anticipated with the tires, and it didn't turn in quite as well. So I missed the apex by 3 feet. That's going to cost me probably a good solid tenth of a second. Full throttle all the way up the hill. Full throttle, shift, fourth gear, full track all the way out there. This is a straight line. Don't even consider this part a corner. Full throttle. And as we approach 8, full throttle in the Boxster. Just hug the inside here, cut the distance. Maximum speed in this car is only 122. Some of the Boxsters get up to 124, 125, depending on the power they make and the aero and all that good stuff. This car is not it's not one of the fastest. It's up there, but my maximum speed, even on a good day, is about 122. On a bad day, it's like 118. So we're going to hold full throttle as we approach the entrance of 9, where that car is ahead of me. I'm going to start straightening the wheel right here and aiming for just getting to the left of the track. I'm not looking at any buildings. I'm not looking at landmarks. I don't do that stuff. I focus on looking through the corner. My eyes are focused pretty much where that car is in front of me at this point, and I'm scanning left to right, and I'm even looking through the corner to where that car is that's already past the apex. I want to take in as much information as possible with my eyes and not fixate on any specific point. I think you need to scan and take it all in, and your brain can process information more efficiently that way. So straighten the wheel, light brakes here, going 123. I'll slow down to probably, hopefully around 100. And then I'm going to try to maintain that speed all the way through to the apex. If I overbrake, I'll be in the 90s. If I underbrake and I'm at like 105, I'd probably start to slide. So this is a very delicate balancing act, especially in a Boxster. You just have to play with it and gradually creep up on your entry speeds. The cars can typically hold between 95 and 100 miles per hour all the way through the corner. So I'm 100, 98, 98, not quite full throttle, now full throttle. Track all the way out here. See how far I'm over the white line? That's where you want to be. You can even go 2 wheels off barely. You don't want to, but this, you can spin out here. You can do all kinds of bad things at the exit of turn 9, but I want to encourage you to try to get to throttle soon enough so that you use the entire track exit. And you're not going to be as far out as I am if you're intermediate or a beginner, because it can get quite scary to get out here when you see the dirt, out there in that big field and then the wall. So creep up on it gradually. Just know that the sooner you get to throttle, you're going to carry that speed all the way down this straightaway, which in a Boxster ends up being around 122, 123. But some cars can approach, 150, 160 miles per hour at the end of turn 1, at the end of the straightaway. And this is just a time to relax, gradually work your way back to the right. You don't need to rush it. And there you go. There's a lap, 132.36. For this final segment, let's analyze a little wheel-to-wheel racing. So I'm trailing another spec Boxster, lap 13 of an Enduro. We're getting passed by a faster car. We're both at full throttle. We're both very equally equipped cars, and the driver in front of me is a friend, and he's driving really well. And I would like for you to see his braking point right there going into turn 9, just a light brush of the brakes to set his speed. We're both going almost identical speeds at the exit. And I'm attempting to draft him, but not so successfully. But I am trying my best to hold on to his bumper a little bit. We're both going to brake here, threshold off the brakes. He's toe braking in. I hit the apex a tiny bit better than him, but we both have about the same speed. Just trying to fake him out a little bit there. As we enter turn 2, again, the Boxster can hold about 89, 90 miles per hour, full throttle all the way through turn 2. On the exit, track out all the way, full throttle. You're going to downshift to 3rd gear, heel toe. You're going to try to get all the way to that curb on the left. I missed it by 3 or 4 feet. So did he, because we're racing. There's a lot of defensive driving going on. Notice he got loose there going into turn 5. That corner gets a bit slippery. We're both going to brake hard here, off the brakes. I got down on the curb, full throttle, all the way up the hill. 3rd gear, we're going to shift at the crest. 4th, full throttle. And again, I'm trying to draft him, and I'm going to shift to 5th gear here to try to keep my engine cool because it's a long enduro race. And the car will unfortunately not go much faster than this. And you'll watch here again his braking lights, straight line braking, soft, set his speed. We're both about 96. Start feeding him the throttle, full throttle, track all the way out. And we'll go to the start finish line at around 120 miles per hour. So I hope that's helpful to see some wheel to wheel footage in the Boxster. And that's a wrap.